Meanwhile, standing near the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister, Mary the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing beside her, he said to his mother, "Woman, here is your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Here is your mother." And from that hour the disciple took her into his home. Celebrating Mothering Sunday. Now sometimes you will hear Christians say that Mothering Sunday must be distinguished from Mother's Day, the same day on which it falls. Mothering Sunday doesn't really celebrate mothers, but celebrates the motherhood of the Church. Well, particularly these days, I think people would respond to the idea often of the motherhood of the Church with a certain amount of bitter cynicism, which may or may not be justified. And if you look at Mother's Day, yes, of course, it's all very commercial and you're supposed to buy cards and send them, and people who manufacture greeting cards do very well. But I personally wouldn't want to snip at that. Why shouldn't greeting cards manufacturers do anything to make a living? Anything that's ethical, that is. They've got a job to do, they have a living to make. And actually encouraging people to send greetings cards to people whom they love, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's a good and loving thing to do. Remembering people with cards is an appropriate cultural expression of love and gratitude when it's done. So I think a celebration of human motherhood is a very good thing, however you do it. And on Mothering Sunday, I'm very happy to celebrate human motherhood as well as, in a slightly different way, the motherhood of the Church that has nurtured and looked after me in my own life. Now, motherhood is a very natural thing. It's part of nature. It is intrinsically self-sacrificial. Mothers have to give a great deal of energy, of risk, of time and effort and pain in order to bring their offspring into the world. But you may say, isn't nature totally selfish? Haven't we learnt all about the selfish gene and how nothing in nature happens except competitively, aggressively, as life struggles to survive in ruthless competition, one life form with another? But I would suggest that using moral language of selfishness, or indeed unselfishness, altruism, in the case of any part of nature which isn't human, is completely inappropriate. When the bird with the broken wing, or when the bird who pretends to have a broken wing thereby saves its chicks from the predator, I don't think the bird is making a moral decision to do so. It's not being altruistic. It's just doing something that comes naturally. It is behaving largely, totally instinctively, I would say. But conversely, to say that this is all part of a cunning strategy by the DNA which is in the chicks to ensure that they survive and go down to another generation as the selfish gene unfolds, is a metaphor that is so unhelpful as to be verging on the absurd. The mother bird isn't altruistic or unselfish, but to call little bits of acid, which contain the program for life, selfish, is even more absurd. This is just how life survives. And if life wasn't programmed to survive, there wouldn't be any life at all. It's kind of obvious. When you get to human motherhood, there are, of course, many instinctive aspects of it. But in the case of humans, I think all our behaviour is a combination of the unavoidably instinctive and the chosen. And it is only with the notion of the chosen that the idea of selfishness or altruism, unselfishness, self-sacrificial love start to make sense. And in the case of our human mothers, even if we were conceived reluctantly or accidentally, I think it is appropriate to pay tribute to the lodging provided in their womb, the giving of sustenance, and even today, the pain and danger of childbirth that they underwent on our behalf. But of course, if we are fortunate, we will have benefited too from the years of selfless care received from them, when our own behaviour, and I'm not just talking of the teenage years here, will have been characterised by a certain amount of careless selfishness. And even further, as our mothers grow old and frail, if we are fortunate enough for them to survive, to return that care as they do grow old and frail is a very appropriate way to behave, a return for all the care we have received as they become vulnerable and in need of help. But the glory of being human is that though we are biologically based, we can go beyond the biological. And here the reading from John is particularly appropriate. Jesus, who was not only a brother to those he lived among, but who showed a mother's loving care, passes on the responsibility both to Mary to be a loving mother to John, the beloved disciple, and to John to be a caring son to his mother. And so the imagery of loving motherhood becomes extended throughout the church, when the church acts as the church should be, though not, of course, when it fails, as it has done so tragically in the past. And if you want to know one way this extended idea of motherhood can be seen among humans, I will finish with a story. There was a friend of mine some years ago who, after years of fruitless fertility treatment, which led, I think in part, to the breakdown of the marriage, as a now single woman, though with the support of a helping partner who wasn't in fact living with her, undertook to adopt a severely damaged and abused 8-year-old girl. She gave this girl unconditional maternal love. And it was a great joy and privilege for me to see how the happiness of this troubled girl became a reality, how she was nurtured and how she flourished under the loving maternal care of a woman who was not, in fact, her biological mother. And it is this sort of choice that we as humans can make that is part of our glory. Yes, we are largely, perhaps to an extent that beyond what we think, governed by instinctive processes. We have less free will, I think, than we suppose. But we are surely capable, in occasions like this, and I'm sure you can think of many other opportunities in your own lives where you can go beyond the biological, go beyond the instinctive, and show the sort of unconditional care, the sort of unconditional love, mirroring the love of the best of mothers to people who need our help, who need our care, who need us to show this love, whose lives have so far been characterized by lovelessness. And so, on this Mothering Sunday, yes, let us pay tribute to the loving care of a mother we may, if we are fortunate, have received from the Church, and also pay tribute to the loving care again, if we are fortunate, that we have received from our own biological mothers. But let us also take it as a sign and an example and a recommendation that we ourselves can go beyond our biological instincts. We can go beyond our urges and ourselves in all areas of life mirror the love of our mothers in the love we show to those who need it.